Those who control the past control the future, and those who control the present control the past. George Orwell. Folks, we are living in a time right now that I don't even believe the man himself would have been able to comprehend. Many have read the book 1984. What's going on right now is so unbelievably Orwellian that it's hard for me to even understand how these people can think somebody isn't going to call them out on this. Right now in the mainstream media, they are trying to cook up a lie about what happened in the 1970s, hoping that the vast majority of their audience is either too stupid, too uninvolved, or too young to know the difference. They are trying to make people believe something that is 180 degrees the exact opposite of what actually happened. And those of you who are my age, I turned 54 this year, and older, will remember this. Some of you, maybe even a little younger, might remember this, but if you're, say, in your mid-40s, you very well might not have understood what happened in the 1970s. Claude Bowers, history is the torch that is meant to illuminate the past, to guard us against the repetition of our mistakes of other days. We cannot join in the rewriting of history. We cannot join in the rewriting of history to make it conform to our comfort and convenience. That's what's happening right now. It is battlefield of the mind. Wait until I show you this. Those of you who are my age and older, Gen X, your jaw is going to hit the floor. You're going to be like, wait a minute, that didn't happen. That isn't what happened. That's absolutely not what happened. But they're going to continue to tell the lie. This is why I have tried to, for the last couple of years, talk to people and convince people it's battlefield of the mind. I have no problem with folks who want to prep in the area of food, beans, water, different foodstuffs. Put that back, absolutely. Bullets, weapons, absolutely. Band-Aids. Patriot Nurse talks about this all the time. Beans, bullets, and Band-Aids. Those are all great things to do. And even lately, she's been talking about, the Bible and reading the Bible. Absolutely, all for it. All for it. But there's one thing people are forgetting about, and it's the brain. It's your mind. And right now, they are doing things to subtly push the needle one direction or the other, hoping nobody knows. And then once they have a new baseline lie, they can create new lies off of that small little subtle lie. If you'd like to see the tactics and techniques, join us at the Florida Monkey Patreon channel. It's only $1 per month. Florida Monkey, why should I listen to you talk about psychological operations? Well, it was my job in the military. It's what I did. And there are people right now in positions of power and in the media that took the same training I did at the same time. They're in charge of the levers and the buttons and the switches. And believe me, they are playing games. And if you want to get read in on the tactics and techniques and what they're doing, join us. It's only $1 a month. That's it. And fully refundable first 90 days. And it's a rolling 90 days too, by the way. No questions asked. The most you would ever be out for 1 month would be $1. For 2 months would be $2. And for 3 months would be $3. But all fully refundable. Love to have you over there. Hundreds and hundreds of videos. Now, let's get right to it. Should we be rewriting history just to make people feel good? That's not history. That's psychiatry. I think a lot of people would agree with that statement. Here's the lie. 4 minutes and 26 seconds in. Socialist price fixing, 1970s gas lines and shortages. They are trying to make people believe that in the 1970s, socialists seized the government in the United States and they decided that they were going to fix the price of gas artificially low, and we ran out. Oh no! And there were lines and there was rationing, and that isn't what happened. That is not what happened. Were there gas lines? Yes. Was there rationing? Yes. Was it because socialists took over the government? No. In fact, it was Gerald Ford, a Republican, that was in charge when everything went to shit in 73. It was the Saudi oil embargo in anger over U.S. support for Israel. Sound familiar? Most Arab states began to seek ways to punish America, and the most effective way was to damage the U.S. economy by restricting oil production. The predominantly Arab oil cartel OPEC cut back production and raised prices, leading to a gas shortage in the U.S. They not only did that, they just stopped shipping it. Oil that was $3 a barrel in 1973 by 1980 climbed to $30 a barrel. Increased fuel costs meant less money to spend on other things, which led to a recession. Socialists didn't take over the government and start introducing, they did have price controls, that's true, just so everybody could have some gas. And they told people, only necessary trips, group up, carpool. We don't have enough. And as a result of this, people were like, well, why are we depending so much on Saudi oil? Well, you see, it was a hell of a lot cheaper for big oil to go pay a bunch of Arab Bedouins, basically, to pump oil and pay them nothing to do it. The labor over there was dirt cheap. And that's actually being nice. It was pretty much free. So they wouldn't basically have to pay anybody to pull it out of the ground. And they thought they were getting rich. They had no idea how badly they were getting screwed by big oil over there. So what did Gerald Ford, the Republican president, do? The Energy Policy and Conservation Act of 1975 was passed by the 94th United States Congress and signed into law by President Gerald Ford. In December of 75, the act created the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, established vehicle fuel economy standards, and, pay attention, prohibited the export of U.S. crude oil. Meaning, what they were saying was, we need to make our cars more efficient. We need to cut back on unnecessary trips. We need to create a giant reserve of oil, and any oil pumped here in America stays here in America. What a terrible idea that was. Really? Drill Baby Drill was 1975. Drill Baby Drill was 1975. But Florida Monkey, didn't you hear what Kamala Harris, she was going to put price controls on food, and that means we're going to run out of food. And here's what she said. Strengthen penalties for price gouging, especially on groceries, gas, and other essentials. We did this a long time ago in this country, and nobody starved, and nobody ran out of food. We already have giant, huge homeless camps as a result of capitalism. Massive homeless camps all over this country. And starving people and hungry people. This is why I can't really be a libertarian, because they're this stupid. Kamala Harris is proposing a ban on price gouging for food and groceries, just like we do here in Florida during hurricane season. We have all sorts of bans and all sorts of laws in the books for price gouging for food, groceries, gas, any type of item that you would need during hurricane season. We have these laws already on the books in Florida. As one of her first public stated policies, price controls and government intervention in the economy are opposite of a free market. How can the government be trusted to make these decisions? 15 August 24, being libertarian. Really? Price controls and government intervention in the economy are opposite of a free market. How can the government be trusted to... Oh, oops. Oh, crap. Oops. On my first day back in the Oval Office, I will sign an executive order directing every cabinet secretary and agency head to use every tool and authority at the federal government's disposal to fix prices, bring prices down, control the economy, make me look good. They both have the same plan. And it isn't the free market. They both have the same plan Trump and Harris, and it isn't the free market. And oh, by the way, guess what? Florida Marquis, you said we tried this in this country and it worked. We did. We did. This is from World War II. Well, wait a minute. That was different. How is it different? That was a 4-year war. How long have we been at war? That was a 4-year war. How long have we been at war? If you really want to talk about when it started, it was 90. When it started, 91 actually. Our first incursion over there into Iraq. So 36 years, 9 times the amount of time that we have been fighting over there was what we are more than World War II. What you're seeing here is a time that nobody wants you to remember. I pay no more than top legal prices. I accept no rationed goods without giving up my ration stamps. Stamp out black markets with your ration stamps. Pay no more than legal prices. Rationing means a fair share for all of us. That means wealthy people can't take the fact that they're wealthy and go buy everything up and then go throw it on eBay and jack up the price and make a whole bunch of money selling you things that, well, here's another one. World War II. I'm out to lick runaway prices. Let's all follow the 7-key plan to hold prices down. Look out, lady, that penny is a booby trap. Every cent you pay above the ceiling price set by government can dynamite price controls. Buy and hold war bonds, pay willingly our share of taxes, provide adequate life insurance and savings for our future, reduce our debts as much as possible, buy only what we need, and make what we have last longer. And somebody say, Florida Monkey, you're saying starvation is when you said that the 40% obese Americans should cut back a little bit and maybe not be giant fat asses, that's starvation. Back in World War II, they were saying buy only what we need and make what we have last longer. Follow ration rules and price ceilings. Cooperate with our government's wage stabilization program. Yeah, that's right. Grandma, great-grandpa were a bunch of socialists. So were they the greatest generation or were they the most evil now? I can't figure that out. The greatest generation, where they're leaving us and they're dying. World War II, oh, they're so great. They were a bunch of socialists. They were a bunch of socialists that rationed goods to keep rich people from controlling everything. Here is a ration chart. Only limited amounts of meat. Before, okay, we had soldiers overseas. We have soldiers all overseas. How many ships are in the Gulf right now? Gulf of Aden, Mediterranean Sea. How many ships are over there? How many tens of thousands are stationed overseas right now? Why is, there's absolutely no difference. Absolutely no difference. We did it in World War II and it worked. And those of you, by the way, you think, well, look at Venezuela. Look at Venezuela. Yes, let's please look at Venezuela. Kamala Harris is going to be the new Hugo Chavez. You better hope she is. You better hope she is. Let's hop into the Wayback Machine. Quarter century ago. Back to 1999 and 2000. Venezuela. See all these colored lines here? Blue, purple, yellow, orange. All these lines here? These were U.S. puppets. Right here. See the green line? That was the revenue into Venezuela from the sale of oil. Revenue to Venezuela, sale of oil, 1980. Super high revenue. The line itself is inflation. The color denotes who is in charge. 1980. Just coming out of the whole issue with the Saudis. The Venezuelans became our allies. And we got all sorts of oil from them, made them rich. But of course that wasn't good enough for big oil. See, big oil couldn't have the Venezuelans being independent and having parity on the world stage because they had such a huge supply of oil. So they had to go in, put in U.S. puppets, drive up inflation, drive down the revenue to the country, until the people said enough. The people said enough by 2000. A man named Hugo Chavez took over. And inflation came down and stayed down. But funny thing, as inflation, this red line, stayed down, their revenue skyrocketed in the 2000s. Their revenue from oil skyrocketed in the 2000s. And big oil was like, crap. People are going to see that this type of socialism works. You pull the oil out of the ground, you sell it on the open market, you take the revenue and you finance your country with it. And it works. But Flory Monkey, what about the starvation? All that. See right here, 2013, 14? Right here? See, this is when they killed Chavez. This is when the U.S. decided to institute sanctions. Nobody was allowed to sell Venezuela parts to replace, for maintenance, for any of their rigs, for any of the things they needed to pump that oil out of the ground. You couldn't sell them food. You couldn't sell them anything. All the Western allies in the world all got together to take out Venezuela. You know why they took out Venezuela? Because the U.S. was getting ready to lift the oil export ban. Remember way back here? We were talking about the oil export ban? The Energy Policy and Conservation Act of 1975. Guess what happened in 2015? In 2015, we lifted the ban. Now, U.S. oil could be sold overseas. But you see, there's a problem. There's a problem. What was the problem, Mucky? What does this have to do with Venezuela? I don't understand. If the U.S. began putting the oil that it was pumping here onto the open market, it would have caused a catastrophic drop in the price of oil. A huge drop. That's actually what happened in the 70s when the Saudis stopped selling us oil. They had to find other buyers for it. They couldn't have kept the same amount of oil on the market. When they decided that they were angry with us over supporting Israel, it's a two-way street. Free markets are a two-way street. The person selling it, if they want to throw a temper tantrum, hold their breath and fall on the ground and say, well, you're supporting Israel, I'm not going to sell you oil and I'm going to punish you, that's going to punish them even worse. Because where do they think all that money was coming from? So they had to catastrophically cut back on the amount of oil they were producing, but they couldn't do it fast enough. Caused a catastrophic drop. And then, for us, it went way, 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 way up. Artificially. Because we still had the demand. Now, they had to take out Venezuela. They had to take out the production capacity of Venezuela to replace it with U.S. capacity. They took out Venezuela so that they could say, okay, we're going to get rid of Venezuela's oil. We're going to drop them down to catastrophic levels. Blame it on socialism. And then we're going to dump a whole bunch of U.S. oil onto the market, but it won't affect the price. It's just going to be replacing it. So that we can steal all their revenue. And we'll just tell the American people, oh, it's socialism. Derp. Neoliberalism 101. It's a form of capitalism in which the state deregulates the economy, destroys unions, decreases taxes on the rich and corporations, and defunds public goods while repressing and policing the poor. It actively favors big business interests and the wealthy. It removes the protections of labor laws. It guts welfare, eliminates social services. Police power and incarceration are instruments of social policy. Free trade policies empower corporations to seek cheap labor and resources elsewhere, and if necessary, military force is used to repress opposition abroad as well as at home. If you don't think you live in a socialist country, think again. When it comes to food, we have been subsidizing farmers, meaning paying them with tax money to artificially keep their prices low. $353 billion in subsidies. Here's another image from way back when. Uncle Sam expects you to keep hens and raise chickens. Imagine trying to tell people this now. We're going to institute price controls. We're going to institute rationing. And if you can't get what you need to buy yourself some hens. for meat and for eggs. Can you imagine Americans hearing that now? Oh, all of you 15-minute cities people. Florida Monkey, why don't you ever talk about the 15-minute cities? Don't travel unless your trip helps win the war. Won't you give my boy a chance to get home? It's World War II. U.S. Office of Defense Transportation. That's what the Department of Transportation, DOT, used to be called. The U.S. Office of Defense Transportation. Stay home, sit on your ass, don't go drive all over the place. Carpool. Don't travel unless your trip helps win the war. Can you imagine now if any president came out and said, we need to retake Afghanistan, so what we're going to do is we're going to institute travel limits because we need the extra fuel. We need the extra resources. Here's another one from World War II. All fuel is scarce. Plan for winter now. The Solid Fuels Administration for War urges. Winterize your home. Insulate walls and ceilings. Install storm doors, sash, weather strips. Check your heating plant. Clean and repair equipment. Install fuel savings devices. Order fuel at once. Take your dealer's advice on amount and kind of fuel. Be ready to accept delivery, meaning have the money on hand. This is World War II. War bonds. I pay no more than top legal prices. You don't think it's happened before. It has happened before. But Florida Monkey, we can't have socialism because socialism is where government takes direct control. Government is already in direct control. They control the drilling, the shipping, the storing, the refining, the buying, the selling, the trading, and taxing of oil, which controls everything else. How many of you heard on the news today? Well, the reason everything goes expensive is because the price of energy is so high. The price of energy is so high. The price of transportation is so high. We bring that down, and then the price of everything else. The U.S. government controls that. And it has controlled that for a long time. So believe whatever, horseshit story you want to believe. But socialists didn't take over the government in the 1970s. And just because they thought it was a great, fantastic idea, institute price controls. You would be living in a third world country right now. Far worse than anything you've ever seen in Africa. If this hadn't happened. If they hadn't said, okay, you know what? Everybody gets X amount of gas. And this is how much it is. Take it or leave it until we can fix this problem. Until we can fix the problem, this was the fix. And was it just for the hell of it? No. It was the Saudis that did this. Our good friends, the Saudis. People want to scream and yell and talk about Nicolas Maduro and the Maduro plan. And here's a fun fact. You ready for this? You're going to love this. This is one you can go tell your friends about. Let's see if I can find the proper picture just so the delivery is right. Nicolas Maduro. How many of you out there know who the first non-NATO country was to get the F-16? That's right. Venezuela. Venezuela was the first non-NATO country to get the F-16, and guess who gave it to them? That can't be right. That can't be. Ronald Reagan hated socialists. Ronald Reagan knew how it would be incredibly smart to have an ally in South America with that amount of oil. And even though they wanted to be socialists, it was a country at that time, not probably even as big as Florida is now as far as people. Well, okay, they want to pump oil out of the ground, and they want to put that oil on the market, and they want to sell it to us. We'll give them the money, and if that's how they want to finance their country, let them. Live and let live. Let them. We don't have to worry about the Saudis anymore. We can stand with Israel and say, screw the Saudis. Reagan had it right. Reagan wanted to make an ally of the Venezuelans. And he did. Funny story, when I was in the military, they were. The Colombians were the enemies. The Venezuelans were our allies. And the Colombians were the enemy. The Colombians still are the enemy. And the Venezuelans truly still should be our ally. But because of a bunch of absolutely boneheaded, idiotic, moronic millennials and younger in the media and in government who are in bed with big oil and big corporate interests, now they're our enemy. And we are screwed beyond anything you could ever imagine. It worked. Anybody out there with a great grandmother, go talk to him. Go talk to him. It worked. It worked when people worked together. It did safeguard people's shares of food and of things they needed. Rationing and price controls. Worked. It worked in this country for years. It's just facts. It's just facts. But yeah, this might be the only place that's going to actually come out and tell you the truth. He who controls the past controls the future. He who controls the present controls the past. Orwell would not have believed what was going on. They're probably going to try to rewrite this guy's book at some point. I mean, it's just absolutely bizarre to me. I'll say this again because I think it's a good thing to reiterate. History is the torch that is meant to illuminate the past, to guard us against the repetition of our mistakes of other days. We cannot join in the rewriting of history to make it conform to our comfort and our convenience. Battlefield of the mind. Join us. $1. Rewriting history just to make people feel good? That's psychiatry. It was the Saudis. It was OPEC. We didn't have a ban on exporting oil before this happened. Ford, a conservative Republican, saw the writing on the wall. But everybody wants to blame Carter. Oh, Carter caused this and Carter caused that. Carter wasn't even in charge until 75. This happened in 73. And oh, by the way, I can't show the pictures, of course. Some of you might remember that they had a few hundred, the Iranians had a few hundred hostages. American hostages, a few hundred American hostages at the time too, so we really couldn't go full hoo-ah over there without risking their lives. And the Iranians waited to punish Carter until he was out of office and released them when Reagan took office. A lot of people forget that too. Don't let them rewrite history. Don't do it. Look up the facts. They're still out there, at least for now. It wasn't socialism. I think this is absolutely a great picture because the car is a Volkswagen. The car is a Volkswagen. Some of you might actually get the irony here. How many of you have gotten, how many of you have understood what the irony is of a Volkswagen sitting next to a sign that says gas shortage, sales limited, 10 gallons of gas per customer in America? Hint, hint, it's who created the Volkswagen and why. I'll leave it there. God bless. Pray for each other. Pray for me, I'll pray for you. Lift each other up. Like, share, subscribe. Join us on Patreon. I'll see you guys next time.